Welcome to the Early Childhood Landscape Analysis Tool and Transitioning to Kindergarten Guidance webinar. I'm Andrea Brunel from the Connecticut State Department of Education's Bureau of Special Education.
And I am Lisa Lamenzo from the Connecticut State Department of Education's Turnaround Office. For approximately the next 13 minutes, we are going to give you a brief overview of the Connecticut ESSA Plan's early childhood components. We will also give you a high-level introduction to two new early childhood ESSA resources.
Early childhood is the stage of human development between birth and age 8. In Connecticut, our ESSA plan focuses on the segment of early childhood that occurs from 3 to 5 years of age, the preschool years. We know that birth to age 8 is a specific developmental span. For our purposes here, we're going to focus on the preschool years in order to best provide the opportunity for schools and school districts to focus their attention on the developmental period that precedes entry into K-12 schooling.
Our ESSA plan includes provisions to promote coordination in early learning among local communities, vertically align preschool with early elementary school, and build the capacity of teachers, leaders, and others serving young children to provide high-quality early learning opportunities that include both early learning environments and developmentally appropriate instruction.
In order to realize this, Connecticut focused our early childhood efforts on 3 strategic actions. 1, an early childhood landscape analysis toolkit. This toolkit helps district and school leaders to better understand their students and families and respond to their needs more effectively.
2, transitioning to kindergarten guidance, which takes you through why transitions are important, what the key components of a successful transition are, and how to implement a transition plan effectively.
And 3, evidence-based guidance for early childhood best practices, which will serve as a spending guide for effective interventions funded by local, state, and federal grant dollars. There's a separate webinar dedicated to all the practice guides, including early learning pre-K to grade 3.
In order to develop the Landscape Analysis Toolkit and the Transition to Kindergarten Guidance, a broad variety of stakeholders were engaged to determine the scope and the contents of these resources. To ensure that these were useful tools, we felt it was important to engage broadly with people with a variety of expertise and perspectives. These stakeholders included representatives from LEAs, such as superintendents, directors, principals, teachers, attendance officers, the Office of Early Childhood, the Department of Education, the Connecticut Association of Schools, Head Start, School Readiness Councils, a mayor's office, higher education, and a philanthropy were all represented.
This slide gives you a snapshot of the process we used. We know that it can be difficult to choose areas of focus when considering young children and their families. During our stakeholder planning and development sessions, we identified what stakeholders felt were both low-hanging fruit and high-impact areas for consideration. We all want young children to be happy, healthy, and successful. And it can be very challenging to make decisions about the efforts we will take given our limited resources.
We know you are already doing this work. The goal of this webinar is to offer you an overview of 2 guidance tools so you can begin to think about developing a thoughtful and intentional system of support to meet the diverse needs of your students and families.
You will notice that both tools focus on the whole child and their families. It's all about relationships with families and with the community. When you begin to unpack these documents, you will also notice that both documents encourage your team to develop practical and actionable steps that can reasonably be accomplished in a set time. Setting reasonable, measurable goals for your school and/or district will be key. These documents were designed to have multiple points of entry depending on your school, district, or community's needs. Always keep in mind that school districts will need to partner with a variety of community stakeholders to accomplish this work.
Let's dive into our first tool, the Early Childhood Landscape Analysis Tool for Connecticut Schools and Districts. Through a data framework, this tool helps district and school leaders to better understand their students and families in order to meet their needs. The guide is designed to help promote cross-sector collaboration. These collaborations will help to identify, leverage, and maximize the resources that are available to support young children and their families. In the introduction, you will find research to support your work. Then you will find 4 areas for data collection: demographics, quality of education and care prior to kindergarten entry, student learning and achievement, and family and community engagement.
Page 4 of the Early Childhood Landscape Toolkit offers a high-level overview of the framework. This framework is organized into 4 categories of data that you see across the top of the page: demographics, quality of education and care prior to kindergarten entry, student learning and achievement, and family and community engagement. Each of these categories mentioned is then organized into must-have, good-to-have, nice-to-have designations along the left side. This serves as a way to begin this work through multiple entry points depending on the needs of the school and/or district and what is already being collected and used for planning.
Within the Landscape Analysis Toolkit, you will find questions to guide you depending on the data you will decide to collect and how to best use data to help to answer the community's questions. You can see that the questions are grouped by data category. The questions are by no means exhaustive, and you will likely find that your team has other questions as well. These questions should be considered starters as you have conversations with your team's stakeholders.
Each section begins with an introductory statement of why each of the 4 categories are important. It then takes you through must-have, good-to-have, and nice-to-have data points. Each section also offers an example of data points comparing the state of Connecticut and the city of Bridgeport. Finding out where data can be found is also critical. This document is loaded with live links connecting users directly to resources, making it easier to find the data they need. Each section culminates with how the data can be discussed and used to plan for action. The other 3 areas of data are organized in the same way. Page 16 of the toolkit outlines a series of 4 steps to help you get started with this work. We want to make it clear that using this tool is not prescriptive. The starting point will be different for everyone. Where you start your work will depend on what data you have and use, your community, and the goals that the school and/or district develops. Each section ends with thought-provoking questions. What data has already been collected? What analysis and actions can we take today based on data? Who are the partners needed to expand the landscape analysis?
Now on to our second tool. We would like to give you a preview of the Transitioning to Kindergarten Guidance document. This resource focuses on developing a systematic approach for transitioning to kindergarten. It is organized into 3 main sections. 1, why transitions are important. 2, what the key components of a successful transition are. And 3, how to implement a transition plan effectively. Each section is filled with suggestions to support building a systems approach for transitioning to kindergarten.
We know that schools and school districts have a wide variety of activities that they implement to assist children and families with the transition from preschool to kindergarten. This document was designed to help you think about transitions as a system instead of a couple of activities in the months prior to entering kindergarten. The goal is to make the transition to kindergarten a smooth, helpful, and positive experience for young children and their families. It's also helpful to think about transition to kindergarten as a system that can begin much earlier than the brief window right before kindergarten starts. Transitions should be carefully and intentionally planned to provide families of young children with the information they need to make transition to kindergarten process a positive one. Transitioning to kindergarten is a time of big change for young children and their families. When a system for transition is in place, it affords the school, family, and community the opportunity to communicate and collaborate over time, so everyone knows what the expectations are. Children arrive at kindergarten excited, families are less nervous about this big milestone, and schools can be more ready to meet the needs of young children and their families.
We know a systems approach to transitions is continuous. Here is a sample timeline using some of the practices mentioned in the guidance. Keep in mind that a school can and should reach out to young children and their families over time and not just in the months right before kindergarten. Also, schools don't need to go it alone. it is important to seek out community partners as stakeholders in developing an effective, systematic transition to kindergarten approach. Some are likely partners, like libraries and child care providers and programs. Others are not so likely. For instance, firefighters, police officers, philanthropic organizations, and businesses. This guide will help you to think about your community and how it can support the system you design or can add value to the system you already have.
It's important to keep in mind that these resources are meant to meet your community where you are. Local needs may differ depending on specific factors, including demographics, your current practices, and resources, to name a few. In looking at how to use the guides in district and school planning, we can refer you to Steps for Effective Decision-Making from the ESSA Non-Regulatory Guidance, Using Evidence to Strengthen Education Investments, September 2016. The link you see at the bottom of your slide will take you to the guidance. The steps include identifying local needs, selecting relevant evidence-based interventions, planning for implementation, implementing, examining and reflecting on the decisions that have been implemented, and repeating the cycle to continue to identify local needs, either new or changed. It is also very important to think about a team that is inclusive of both representatives from the school district as well as other community stakeholders. Everyone will come to the table with a different piece of the puzzle and help to develop a robust plan. As with any improvement effort, the work is ongoing and doesn't need a formal starting point. As you explore your local needs and select strategies to develop or improve your transition to kindergarten system, we encourage you to use these documents as a resource to support your efforts and begin the process where you are.
Both of the documents we have presented are available on the Connecticut State Department of Education's website at the link shown on this slide. You can easily find both the Early Childhood Landscape Analysis tool and the Transitioning to Kindergarten Guidance by using the search box at the bottom of your screen. Just enter ESSA Student Transition Resources Pre-K to K and then select Resource 1 or 2, the Early Childhood Landscape Analysis tool or Transitioning to Kindergarten Guidance.
If you have any questions or comments about the Early Childhood Landscape Analysis tool or the Transitioning to Kindergarten Guidance document, feel free to contact either one of us. We hope that you find these tools helpful in your planning.